The film begins in 1947. Dalton Trumbo is seen typing a script in his bathtub. At this point, he is a well-known screenwriter in Hollywood. In the following scene, we see Trumbo on the set of a film starring actor Edward G. Robinson. Robinson and Trumbo then attend a party. Everyone in the room is talking about an ongoing strike. We understand Trumbo's support for this strike as a communist. And it's clear that a lot of people are angry with Trumbo about this. After that, Trumbo takes his wife, Cleo, and older daughter, Nikki, to the movies and watches a film reel in which gossip writer Hedda Hopper accuses many in Hollywood of being communists, naming Trumbo as an example. Additionally, we see that the House Un-American Activities Committee is formed to look into this issue. After the end of the film, a common man recognizes Trumbo and throws his drink at him. When Hedda Hopper portrays Trumbo as a dangerous radical, the general public begins to hate him in the context of the Cold War. His own little daughter, Nikki, is concerned about her father's actions. He assures his daughter that he is not violating the law, but only wants the government to do a better job. For example, he asks Nikki what she would do if she arrived at school and saw that one of her friends had not brought lunch. Will she refuse to give her friend half of the food, or will she tell her to get a job so she can eat? Then well-known and powerful actor John Wayne begins to oppose Trumbo. The two immediately got into a verbal fight. Trumbo believes that Congress should never interfere with what people talk about, what ideas they believe in, or what films they make. However, Wayne claims that Congress has the ability to intervene in any subject deemed a threat to the country. Then, on behalf of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, producer Louis Burt Mayer contracts Trumbo as the world's highest-paid screenwriter, but he shows him a Hedda Hopper article and tells him, "As long as you work with me, I don't want to see anything like this written about you." Trumbo laughs, "You should quit reading Hedda Hopper." During a picnic with family and friends to celebrate signing the record-breaking 3-year contract with MGM, Trumbo's wife Cleo shows off her juggling talents at the request of their daughter. A government black car appears at that point. An official steps out of the car and hands Trumbo a subpoena. He claims that Trumbo and others in Hollywood are exploiting movies to poison democracy and lead the nation mislead. "We will not answer any direct questions in court," Trumbo tells the other accused companions during a group discussion. According to one, it will be considered contempt of court. "We may lose in the lower courts as a result," another argues, "but with a majority of liberals on the Supreme Court, we will undoubtedly win there." Arlen Hurd, another accused screenwriter, is wary of the Supreme Court. He says, "I can't spend that much. I don't want to waste my money on anything like this." "Don't worry, I'll cover you," Trumbo says. A few days later, 10 of the 19 accused began testifying in the United States Capitol. They've been termed the Hollywood 10 by the media. As planned, Trumbo and others do not directly answer any questions, instead expressing their rights. As a result, they face charges of contempt of Congress. Trumbo found the same day that Arlen Hurd has cancer. In the meantime, Hedda Hopper visits MGM and meets Louis Burt Mayer. She believes Trumbo and the other accused should be fired, but Louis disagrees. Hedda Hopper then threatens him with turning her 35 million readers against him. As a result, after a few days, Louis Burt Mayer announces that the 10 accused contracts will be terminated without pay. He also claims that no studio would ever hire a member of the Communist Party. However, actor Edward G. Robinson backs the Hollywood 10. He continues to try to raise as much money as he can for their defense fund. For this, he even sells a painting by Vincent van Gogh from his collection. Hollywood 10 has been found in contempt of Congress. Trumbo's lawyer tells the press that the Supreme Court will rule in their favor. Then, Trumbo tells the lawyer that MGM has terminated his contract, leaving him bankrupt. The lawyer asks, "Then how will you pay for my legal expenses?" Trumbo understands that he needs to return to work despite being blacklisted. Trumbo begins working on a fresh script that day. Arlen, on the other hand, is hospitalized due to a deterioration in his condition. When Trumbo tells Arlen that he is not now going to pass away anytime soon, Arlen says, "Yes, the doctors made me fit enough to go to jail." We learn that Arlen's wife left him during this difficult time. Buddy Rose, an independent producer, claims that after the legal matter is resolved, he would hire Trumbo to write all of his films. The government will pursue you at that point and no bank will assist you any longer, Trumbo responds. So, you cannot hire me. Daughter Nikki enters the room as Trumbo continues to write the new script and says, "But I heard you can't write anymore." "No, I can't write under my own name," replies Trumbo, "but I can write in other people's names." After finishing the script, Trumbo meets with another screenwriter, Ian McClellan Hunter, and asks him to sell it to the studio in exchange for 30% of the payout. Trumbo titles the script The Princess and the Peasant. McClellan renamed it Roman Holiday. A few days later, while an unpaid employee is at home asking Cleo for money, Trumbo appears and declares that they are once again rich. Because Roman Holiday is purchased by Paramount. Trumbo pays his workers' salaries. Cleo, on the other hand, can't be delighted because 2 liberal Supreme Court judges died in quick succession. The Hollywood 10's lawyer also state that the Supreme Court no longer has a majority of liberals. As a result, their appeal will be denied, and their prison sentence will stand. Saying goodbye to his family, Trumbo goes to jail for a year. He attempts to blend in with the other inmates, but he hates being in jail and misses his family. Trumbo finds pleasure on one occasion despite his suffering. Because J. Parnell Thomas, the senator who treated him the rudest at his hearing, ended up in prison for tax evasion. Meanwhile, in the United States Capitol, actor Edward G. Robinson succumbs to pressure. He claims that communists had many political meetings in his house, but he had no idea they were communists. Robinson mentions Arlen Hurd and Dalton Trumbo, among others, when asked by name. But Hedda Hopper still wants Robinson to be blacklisted. However, John Wayne refuses to accept it. He feels that, while Robinson doing the right thing, Hopper should stop hunting him. Wayne then goes to Robinson and says, "Don't worry, I'll call the studios, you'll start getting a lot of work again." After 11 months in jail, Trumbo is eventually granted his freedom. He doesn't even recognize Nikki because all the boys and girls have grown up by this time. Trumbo finds out that their house has been sold. Trumbo goes to a restaurant to meet Arlen. There he meets Buddy Ross, who leaves without a good word with Trumbo. Arlen says Buddy is also in trouble, his 3 movies have flopped in a row. After that, Arlen intends to sue the studios. "We've wasted enough time in court," Trumbo argues, "so no more." Arlen says, "Then what do we do?" "We will do what we are forbidden to do," Trumbo says. King Brothers Pictures makes B-grade films. Trumbo meets the production company's head, Frank King. Frank says that he cannot afford Trumbo. Trumbo says that he will work for the same pay as other writers do. He can also write a script in 3 days. Frank then agrees. To Frank King's great surprise, Trumbo completes a script in 3 days. He provides Trumbo with some more scripts and requests that he improve them. Trumbo and his family go to a new house. A neighbor recognizes him and leaves a note accusing him of a traitor and vandalizes his pool. The film Roman Holiday is a huge success. Trumbo continues to write scripts for the King brothers, who favor quantity over quality. He is overwhelmed by the demand and recruits Arlen Hurd and Ian McClellan Hunter. Hunter is nominated for an Oscar for Trumbo's Roman Holiday, though he is still blacklisted in Hollywood. Trumbo had to write numerous scripts under various pseudonyms. As a result, he seeks the assistance of the entire family. Cleo, Nikki, and 2 other boys and girls must pick up the phone, and if someone comes to pick up the script, they must hand it to him. They must also go to the studio and deliver the script. Nikki points out that she has her own studies and works on social issues. Cleo then assures her daughter that there will be no trouble when everyone is there. Arlen does not want to write all of these crappy scripts. He keeps inserting his political sentiments everywhere, which irritates Frank King. He asks Trumbo to rewrite the scripts. This resulted in an argument between Trumbo and Arlen. Arlen mentions that he was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize and that Trumbo received a National Book Award, so they need to write something better. Trumbo then tells Arlen about an idea he has about a Mexican bullfighter. The Oscars are later telecast, and Roman Holiday wins Best Screenplay. Buddy Ross contacts Trumbo, asking if it's true that he wrote Roman Holiday. He needs a script and wants to hire Trumbo. Arlen and Trumbo argue. Trumbo says if they continue to work while blacklisted, it will be their victory. But Arlen says he wants to make a change rather than just gain money and glory. After a few years of this, it is now Nikki's 16th birthday. Trumbo is in the bathroom, writing a script. Nikki tries to get him to come downstairs for cake, but he shouts at her for interfering with his work. She leaves in tears. Cleo calms her as she complains about her father. Dalton discovers that Arlen died of cancer. Trumbo attends the funeral before going to meet Edward G. Robinson to tell him the news. Trumbo repays Edward for the money he gave them for their defense fund. Edward explains that all he wanted was to reclaim his life. Dalton informs him that he was not required to provide names since Congress had no right to demand it of him. One day Trumbo meets Hedda Hopper. Trumbo doesn't respond when Hedda asks if he writes many scripts under the pseudonym. Then she informs, Buddy Ross has provided the committee all of your names. Work overload promotes unrest at home. Trumbo urges everyone to put everything aside and focus solely on doing his job. Nikki leaves the house after arguing with her father, and that night she does not come back. You'll lose everyone if you continue like this, Cleo warns Trumbo. Trumbo realizes his mistake and later apologizes to Nikki. Roy Brewer, the IAST union leader, approaches Frank King and informs him that he is aware that Trumbo and other communists are working for him. He says that if he exposes the King brothers, there will be demonstrations and boycotts. In response, Frank grabs a baseball bat and starts smashing everything, telling Roy he isn't worried about boycotts because all of his films are crap. He claims that the only reasons he works in movies are for the money and the girls, and that if Roy takes those away from him, he won't sue him, but will beat him to death with a bat. Roy disappears. Trumbo comes up with a fresh script based on his bullfighter concept, titled The Brave One. He explains to Frank that it couldn't have been produced at a low cost. The movie comes out a few months later. When Trumbo, who authored this script under the pseudonym Robert Rich, gets nominated for Best Screenwriter, a complication arises. If Robert Rich is given the award, he must stand up to take it. And it is actually Robert Rich who is awarded. But he does not appear to accept the honor. On this, Hedda Hopper sparks a great deal of debate. Trumbo doesn't respond when reporters ask if he is Robert Rich. Hedda Hopper keeps trying to catch Trumbo off guard, but as time passes, many people's views against Trumbo alter. Kirk Douglas pays Trumbo a visit and asks if he may work on the script for his upcoming film. He does, and it's called Spartacus, and it's credited to Sam Jackson. Hedda meets with Kirk and threatens him with legal action if he hires Dalton Trumbo. Kirk claims he dislikes the current situation and is not afraid of Hedda. Otto Preminger, the director, has read Trumbo's Spartacus script and wants him to write Exodus, which will star Paul Newman. He waits eagerly on Christmas morning, forcing Trumbo to compose pages of the script. He doesn't like the writing and threatens to put Trumbo's real name on the script to shame him if he keeps doing it. Kirk pays a visit around that time and wants more changes to the Spartacus script. Trumbo won't be able to resume work on it for another week. He tells Kirk that Otto assured him that if he keeps up that level of work, he'll make sure his name is on the film, twisting his words to make it appear as though Otto might grant him a screen credit. He then tells Otto that Kirk has promised that he will try to get him a screen credit on Spartacus. The head of Universal informs Kirk on the set of Spartacus that Hedda Hopper has threatened a boycott unless Trumbo is sacked. Meanwhile, Nikki points out that the neighbor who called Trumbo a traitor when they first came here had seen Kirk Douglas and Otto Preminger and certainly informed the FBI or Congress. So now everyone knows what you're up to and who really won the Oscar. It is your award, you should claim it. Trumbo admits his daughter's perspective. To a news reporter, Trumbo acknowledges that he is Robert Rich. He uses this as a chance to point out that despite spending millions of dollars on its investigation, the House Un-American Activities Committee has yet to uncover any communist conspiracy or pass any laws. They've only managed to keep people from working. Despite this, he received 2 Oscars. Trumbo is able to shift public sentiment away from the blacklist with this interview. Otto says that Dalton Trumbo wrote the screenplay for his latest movie. Kirk also wants the head of Universal to admit that Trumbo wrote their screenplay. Hedda threatens a massive Spartacus protest just before the film's release unless Trumbo's name is removed. When the Universal head disagrees, she threatens to close the studio. Regardless, Trumbo's name appears in the credits. Cleo starts crying. President John F. Kennedy is questioned about Spartacus and the controversy surrounding it. He hopes it will be a big success, thereby supporting Trumbo and opposing the blacklist. Hedda Hopper sits in front of the television at home, humiliated by her failure. Dalton Trumbo receives the Writers Guild of America's Laurel Award in March 1970. In his address, he mentions that the blacklist was a time of evil, but that people should not view the persons engaged as heroes or villains, but as victims, each and every one of them. Title cards show, Trumbo won his Oscar for The Brave One in 1975 and died a year later at the age of 70. Cleo accepted a posthumous Oscar for Roman Holiday in 1993, and she died in 2009. Hundreds of Hollywood personalities have been blacklisted, and hundreds more have been wrongly targeted. Teachers, military, government employees, and their families all lost loved ones, including suicides. The House Un-American Activities Committee's investigations lasted until 1975. I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to be notified when new videos are available.